Greetings and welcome to Extra Hours. I'm Guy Cochran filling in for Grant Whitehead, who's off in production. So this week's a little special. We want to mix it up and do something that we used to do a lot with the normal office hours show in the morning. We would have a second hour. And this time we're actually going to bring in some special guests just because there's been a lot of hype and a lot of interest in AV over IP. And a lot of us know NDI, and we've been hearing these rumblings of 2110. And there's a new kid in town, and there's some folks down under that have been spearheading, just jumping right into this new line of products and ecosystem, if you will. It seems like it's more not geared towards the broadcasters, maybe more install, but we're going to answer a whole bunch of questions today and hopefully fill your brain with a bunch of knowledge that you didn't have before you got into this show. We're joined by Alex Lindsay. Alex, you want to say hello?
Hello, hello. Good to be here.
Nice. We've also got Jeff Keithley, who's got a vast experience in NDI and AV over IP. Welcome, welcome.
Did a little bit of it, have done a little bit of it, continue doing a lot of it. So yeah, good to be here today.
We've got also Jeffrey Powers. He'll be our reader as well. And
hey,
he's got a little NDI experience as well.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. All right. And then we're joined by our special guests from TurtleAV, who are all the way in from down under. They're in tomorrow because you guys are already in what day is it there? Tuesday?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. If you want tomorrow's Tats Lotto numbers, just let us know. We can send them out to you. It's sort of like living in Back to the Future. We can send you the sports almanac or something, you know. Yeah,
right
it's
on.
tomorrow here. Yeah.
Perfect. So how did you guys come about wanting to get into AV over IP with this new Dante protocol? What excited you? What did you just go, wow, the light bulb just went off?
Well, yeah, it sort of did. And firstly, thanks for having us on the show. I've been a long-time watcher of the show. So, yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller, I guess. I'm sure, Pawel, you've watched it as well.
Right.
Yeah, look, we started TurtleAV quite a while ago now, and we went live on January 15. And our first trade show was ISE in February in Barcelona. We spent a long time looking at different formats, and obviously Dante audio is very widely used and things like that. And we stumbled across Dante AVA, which has been out for quite a while, and we sort of saw that no one was really making the hardware endpoints to make it kind of usable. So we sort of went all in on Dante AVA as our AV over IP format of choice, and on top of that, we've built a whole bunch of products to build the ecosystem out.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us have these little adapters, and I noticed that I should have just bought some of yours because I just needed some of the USB versions and wound up buying them. But then I looked today as I was preparing for the show and noticed that you have not just these kind of plasticky type ones. You've got some robust. There's a difference in a Pro, which seems like more of a ruggedized piece that would go in a conference room or somewhere where it could be a little more rugged.
Yeah. So we've made a whole bunch of little adapters based around the Dante Ultimo chipset, so they're sort of functionally the same as other products that are out there. And yeah, we put some in a metal case, and then because they're in a metal case, they're more ruggedized. They're easy to mount under like tables and lecterns, and even rack them. They come with little rack ears, and because they're in a metal case, we're able to offer like a 5-year warranty on those as well. So yeah, they're $199, and yeah, they're pretty cool.
Nice. And then what is the difference? I'm new to this as well. I got a chance to try one of the original first PTZ cameras that hit the market by Bybel when they introduced the AV. Was it Dante? The first Dante AV camera, and it came with a receiver. So can you explain some of the different codecs and ways that the different flavors of AV, Dante AV?
Do you want to have a go at that one? Or I can...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So there are three flavors of Dante AV. There's AVH, which is essentially H.265 or H.264 wrapped in Dante. There's AV Ultra, and there's AVA. So the main difference between AV Ultra and AVA is the platform that they're running on. AV Ultra runs on an FPGA-based platform, which means it's power hungry and also emits a lot of heat. while the AVA is an SoC-based platform. So we can still do 4K 60 444. We still have a visually lossless compression under one frame latency, but we're actually running it on the platform that requires a lot less power. We basically draw 8 watts of power when we are encoding or decoding 4K 60 444. And what that means, our endpoints are passively cooled, and your infrastructure cost is also significantly lower if you're going with AVA as opposed to AV Ultra.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about the power is probably not the most sexy part of the product, but it is arguably one of the most important. Because of the low power draw, yeah, we can build fanless endpoints, so they can sit behind screens and under tables and places where there's not a lot of ventilation, and be totally fine. We've had them running in the heat. In Australia, we say 40 degrees Celsius, but in the USA, that's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And we've had them sitting in the window with the sun blaring on them and, running 24/7 for, months and months and months and without dropping a frame. So, yeah, the architecture is very important behind Dante AVA. It's part of what we think makes it a really great format. The electricity savings alone compared to other products on the market, you could over 100 endpoints over 5 years, you can save like $20,000 US just in electricity. So yeah, so it's a well thought out architecture.
Interesting. And so did you guys come up with that, or you have some engineers, or how did this kind of unwind and start to unravel? And
Yeah, great question. So AVA is built on a chip from a company called A-Speed, and they're a massive Taiwanese company. They're in the same building as NVIDIA over in Taiwan, and they build like data center kind of infrastructure products and things like that. But it was a collaboration between those guys, A-Speed and Automate themselves, to build this A-Speed chip, and then off the back of that, manufacturers like us can build, endpoints and ecosystem products. Yeah.
And then for folks that have been using NDI, is there some like latency latencies? We heard the color 444. So what were the key differentiators for some of us that are like, I don't know if I want to go that route. I'm happy where I'm at. What would you say would sway some folks that might be watching that are kind of new to this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's kind of a deep question. You need to get into the sort of nitty gritty. The way NDI works is it's more like a contribution system for, say live production systems and things like that. And it can still be used, obviously, for video distribution to, television screens using decoders and things. But yeah, AVA is more for like commercial installations for universities, hospitals, transport like airports and railway systems and things like that. You can't put AVA into a TriCast or a vMix or, a Epiphan or something like that at the moment. You'd need an encoder and a decoder solution. You can't just send it over the network into one of those production systems. So NDI we see as being really great for video production. And in the Automate world, AVH kind of is more comparable to NDI. And then AVA is sort of a little bit above that with 444. And the reason that 444 in that world is so important is really when you start putting computer graphics on television screens, like spreadsheets on TV screens. If it's not 444, then it can kind of break down a little bit, and you can see some artifacting and things. So it's sort of more built for that application rather than a live production format.
Nice.
Hopefully that explained it a little bit.
Yeah, that does. Because when I first got that camera from Bullen, I was like, well, how do I get it into vMix? And now there's Dante Studio. So over the weekend, and preparing for this session, I bought 2 licenses and just simply set it up to computer. So I set up a receiver on one laptop and then a transmitter on another, and just did a simple screen share, and had to install Dante controller on a machine just to be able to route it. So can you talk a little bit about Chaz and how you're able to put put the hardware controller in not requiring any kind of laptop or any kind of server, where you just would introduce a hardware solution instead of a software?
Yeah. So as a hardware ecosystem, yeah, you would need a receiver on the other end to then turn it back into HDMI, and then take that into the production system. But yeah, for video distribution around like conference centers and things like that, you would have HDMI encoders sitting in the rack, and then send those out across the network, and then have the receivers typically behind a screen, but it could be for a production system as well.
And to be clear, like with the hardware controllers, is this really allowing folks? I noticed doing the research that I did there is that so now you can have Crestron or all kinds of external protocols able to call the routing from the Dante. So instead of opening up a Dante controller like most of us are used to on our Mac or PC or whatever, we can simply is it an API that's available for the hardware that allows people to or is it, how is that interaction working there?
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of the features. So we're running an API server on hardware, and through our hardware box, you can use any third-party control system to control your entire Dante network. But on top of that, we also host Dante controller in the browser, so you can access that via any browser, whether it's a mobile device or a computer or a tablet. And that way, you don't have to have a dedicated PC with Dante controller running on your network. You can just pull it up on any web browser and change your routing in the browser.
Yeah, and Alex, that does mean exactly that. You can then control your Dante network using Crestron or QSys or Control4, Extron, AMX, whatever your favorite programming language is. Essentially, you can then have one button commands to change routing for your entire Dante network, whether that's audio or video. Or,
and does it support REST and OSC?
It does support REST API. Yep.
Okay, great. Interesting. That's super interesting as far as being able to automate things and being able to put that together. Can you tell us a little bit about Brooklyn? That was the thing that got me the most really excited when you guys started talking about the release of Brooklyn.
Yeah, so Brooklyn, I think, that's a chipset that Audinate make. We have actually named our products after cities as well, with sort of as a bit of a tip of the hat to Audinate.
And I didn't mean Brooklyn. I meant downtown. I apologize.
Oh, downtown, yeah. Sure.
I jumped in, so I know I confused you there. I threw the wrong name at you, but when I saw this come out, I was like, "What is it? What are they releasing here? This looks amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually have a product that can take multi-channel audio, whether it's Dolby Atmos or DTSX. We can receive that from HDMI, optical, or ARC or eARC. And then we can convert that audio to Dante, and we put each channel as a separate Dante channel, so you can route your multi-channel Dolby audio to your Dante receivers. And on top of that, we also created a stereo mixdown on the device, so you can use your multi-channel audio within your production or in the room, and then you can use the stereo mixdown for your live stream or lecture capture, for example, all in one hardware box.
And how high of support can you handle from a channel perspective?
Yeah, we've got 10 channels to play with, so we can go all the way up to 9.1 and lower. And if you go lower, the stereo mixdown occupies 2 of these channels. So basically 10 channels to play with, and you can decide how you want to do that.
Like a 514 is a pretty easy thing to support from that perspective.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing 7.1, as Pawel said, that's 8 channels. You can use the extra 2 channels to do the stereo mix down, and then send that into a production system or lecture capture or something. Yeah.
Yep.
It's great. It's very hard. Of course, what got me excited was it's very hard to do that. Like I spend a lot of time having to. One of the things I have to do is integrate with analog systems from Dolby, and trying to figure out how to get that out cost effectively has been not a non-trivial problem. It's really an interesting box. Now, when is that shipping?
We're hoping for September. At this stage, it's on track for September. If we slip a little, then we apologise. But yeah, we only announced it 2 weeks ago. Yeah. It seems like at Infocom, and yeah, luckily enough, we won 2 Best of Show awards for the product as well. So it's been quite well received. It seems to be fairly unique. There's nothing really else out there like it. So it's all this genius is doing. I can't take any credit for that. So yeah.
How was the Infocom show for you? What was really the draw? What did people really gravitate towards in the booth?
Yeah, it's funny. We painted the boxes a very unique color. Everyone was making black boxes, so that caught a lot of attention, and then it sort of drew people in, so we could explain the product line to them. We, I think a lot of people were very interested in Downtown, obviously. That was a big hit for us, but also the control and the Dante controller in hardware, and what that opens up for, you know, existing audio networks that are running Dante and the ability to control them. And then once people understood that our Chazy 4K products just show up in Dante controller and they can route them, and you know, you can talk about the endpoints supporting, you know, a channel of 4K video and 2 channels of audio and having a full Dante audio bridge built into them as well. Then that really got people, you know, very interested in that ecosystem of video products from Audinate's format rather than just audio. Yeah. Everyone's kind of used Dante controller. It's familiar. When the video shows up in the same, you know, interface, then it makes it nice and easy for people to build out, you know, larger systems.
And then the multi-views, are the multi-viewers and being able to have matrices and 90, was it 90? There was I saw a spec where it was like you could do like 90 TVs and build a matrix.
Oh yeah, so that's actually a hardware feature that's built into the boxes, which then combines with the software on the firmware. So you can build a 9x9 video wall with the Chazy series and also the Darwin series, and especially with Chazy, because it is Dante. Everybody knows that Dante do, you know, network timing and master clocks really beautifully. So you can rest assured that all of the TV screens will be in sync. And yeah. If anyone builds a 9x9 video wall, please send us a photo. It's going to be the size of a building, something, right? So, yeah.
That's crazy that the hardware will support it. I can't imagine what kind of processing power is under the hood to pull all that off. We've got a couple questions already building up here. Let's, Jeffrey, you want to grab that first question?
Absolutely. So Jeff Keithley on the panel is asking, big question for the TurtleAV team, why can't we get adapters with locking Neutrix Ethercon connectors on them?
I'm glad you asked. We actually have 3 products with locking Neutrix connectors on them. So we have a series called the Miniola Bridge, and we have 4 in the range now. We launched a new one. So we have a 2x2, a 4x4, an 8x8, and at Infocom we released a 16x16. And what we've done there is all of the connectors are locking, so they're XLR in, XLR out, and those are obviously locking connectors. And then we have primary and secondary Dante networks, so you have network redundancy, and then both of those network ports are actually Ethercon locking connectors. And they're PoE powered. They provide 48-volt phantom power to the microphones. They're perfect for a vMix or a TriCaster system to get audio in and out of a production system. Just load Dante virtual sound card onto the production system you're using, and they just pop up as audio sources, and yeah, away you go. So great question. We have them.
Yeah, for some of the people that
on those,
go ahead, Jeff.
On those, sorry to interrupt, Guy. On those are great. I actually haven't seen those before I posted the question, because I was looking at the mini adapters, and it just irritates me to no end that the Avios don't have them, and I notice you guys don't have them either. And because how many times have we had, you know, a Cat 5 or Cat 6, whatever, with that little, the only locking part of it breaks off, and then your host. So we moved over to Ethercons on practically every piece of our gear, and unfortunately there are times then we of course have to undo the Ethercon to make it fit in the thing that's not, and it's just frustrating for us in the field to do that. So I'm glad to see these other ones, but thank you for adding the secondary network for those of us that use primary and secondary. That's a big plus. Are they are the preamps in these boxes addressable from a web GUI or something to be able to increase, decrease, whatever, adjust remotely?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can control all of that through the web user interface, or there's an API running on these guys as well. So you can automate that, and you can push API commands to change your gain values. There's also built-in DSP on them, so you can apply EQ on every channel individually. You can turn on and off phantom power on the mic inputs. And finally, you can save presets. So you can save the entire configuration into preset, and you can recall preset and change your gain structure or your equalization across the channels on the inputs with a single API call.
Yeah, it's also got audio delay, so you can set an audio delay to sync up with the video as well.
I'm looking at the rest of the specs. This looks really great. Okay, I wish I would have dug a little closer earlier. I still would like it on those little boxes though, just to have that locking confidence.
Yeah, we're still collecting some feedback about that. So would you like to see like just a dual channel XLR basically input with Infocom? Is that what you're after, probably, Jeff?
Well, I tell you what I really want, and it comes up to a next question I posted a minute ago, because it was like, these guys are the perfect guys to build it. I have a friend over at Audinate, and I brought it up to him, and he goes like, we don't have enough call for it, so we're doing live sports mostly is what we're in production with right now, and one of those is racing, and so we're having to drop out shotgun mics for NAT audio and ambient audio. We run out network to them, then we need to turn it around, right? So then you have to build a box or put stuff in a box, because it's going to get wet no matter what, or it's going to have to be adapted somehow. And so in order to make that, what I really want is a single channel microphone preamp. So you just plug it right in the back of a shotgun. So basically convert a shotgun to XLR with an Ethercon on the end. That would be my dream. Like by next week is fine. I mean,
when he smiles like that, he's like, "Yeah, I can build that. I know this face." So, yeah, watch this space, Jeff. Where are you based, Jeff?
Texas.
Yeah, which city? We like to name our products after.
Outside of Houston. Yeah.
Okay. We'll
been on productions with Jeff where that little box that he's talking about got doused, and we had to bag the cameras, but he's got a little box there that has, what is it, a Netgear switch, what all is in that little box?
What we ended up doing is building Pelican boxes to do this, but it's a waste. We've been using a Terotex for the longest to do audio in and out. Now it's QSC, but it's 2 in, 2 out. We never use the out. I don't need it. But those boxes are the only ones that were in the market until you guys came along. They're the only Dante boxes that had the ability to adjust preamp levels remotely that I ever came across, that were in a low input count without having a big 16 channel rack. Well, we're spreading things around. Say we were doing tennis a lot, so we would drop in and have NAT mics all the way, like 9, 10 NAT mics around the court. Well, when we're doing that, we would have to run it back along XLR. So it'd just be beautiful just to have it coming off the switch, just XLR instead of XLR running Cat5 directly to it, just clip in and then have everything in the pathway that we needed it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I know that face. Watch this face, Jeff. I know that face.
Call me. We'll talk some more. I've got a big idea about this one. Yeah. They just those are the things that we love hearing you guys are open to smaller companies that are open to some ideas that we have in the field. Just like Alex was saying, he's working a lot in the Atmos and in a lot of the surround side. To see that you guys have that product, it's amazing, because there's some applications that's coming along that I'm having to use something like that too.
Yeah.
So now as we're doing product requests, I want to add one based on something that I had there. Like for I'm expecting this like next month. It won't be a big deal. I want a high impedance, so a Z input from like unbalanced from a guitar that just goes straight into an Ethernet cable. So so a lot of times we have DI boxes. So think about a DI box that just went straight into Dante. That doesn't exist. There's people like me that would love to not run long runs of unbalanced audio. Just saying. Not that I've had to deal with this recently and that I'm still bitter about it.
Not that everybody has a Scorpio that's like $12,000 portable Dante.
But it delivers it. No, but it delivers any Dante network, any Dante record, any way that you're going to grab onto that, and then I can reamp it later, but and drop it into an amp if I want to. But long runs from guitars, we were picking up radio stations, so it'd be great to not have to do that.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't make the same face, but he made a very similar face. So.
Do you play guitar and see that you tell it to someone who plays guitar or bass, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be useful." Yeah. Anyway.
Total addressable market. How many people are out there?
Exactly. A lot of guitar players.
Yeah, I was about to say there's one or two, right? So yeah,
just a few. All right, let's hit that next question, Jeff.
All right, next question comes back to Jeff Keithley. Does TurtleAV have any adapters that have a mic preamp? Bonus points for remote-controlled preamps.
Yes, we do. So our Miniola series, all of the inputs have independent mic preamps with phantom power. It's also worth noting that all of these boxes are PoE powered, so you can power up to 32 channels of in and out on the Miniola 16x16 from your switch, with primary and secondary networks, and with mic preamps on all of the inputs.
Yeah, and then they're available through the web GUI as well, right? So so they are remotely accessible. You just need to be somewhere on the network.
Sweet. Next question.
Next up comes from
so far.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Next question comes from Ed Willock from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Are there any Dante AV Ultra products in the Turtle lineup currently or in the pipeline?
Currently, no. And we don't really talk about future products, but possibly in the future.
All right, we got another one from Ed Willock.
Yeah, Ed Willock asks again, do any of the Dante audio products you offer have sample rate conversion? If not, I'd love to see a SRC product that has redundancy and at least 64x64 channel.
Okay, so we don't have 64x64 yet, I should say. We can go up to 16x16, but we're able to convert sample rate. So on the input, we can get analog input and we can convert it to a given sample rate, and then from the Dante we can receive any signal between 44.1 and 96 kilohertz, and we convert it back to analog.
And in regards to the sample rate conversions, are we talking 192? Like, where do we start? Where do we?
Yeah. So between 44.1 to up to 96 kilohertz.
96. Nice. And is that limited by hardware, or can you go all the way? Can you go to like 192 in the future?
Not on the current hardware. That's the limiting factor on the current hardware.
I'm not sure why somebody would need that, but it's a question just in case.
It's one of the common requests actually on Miniola to increase that. So we're looking into that.
So, and you guys also launched in Barcelona at ISE. You exhibited there.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's a first show.
How is that crowd? Because that's bigger than Infocom, correct?
Yeah, look, I've done many trade shows around the world through my life, and I still remember my first NAB was the biggest trade show I think I've ever been to, 20 years ago or whatever it was. Been around a long time now, but to me it feels like ISE is actually getting bigger than it feels like it was like NAB was 20 years ago. It's a huge show. It's actually physically difficult to get around and see every stand in the 4 or 5 days that you're there because it's just so big. We had a great show. We launched our company and we won 3 best product of show awards across 3 different products. And yeah, it's been an amazing ride for us. We've now won, was it 7? 7 product awards in 6 months. So it's been crazy. Yeah. But
wow, you'll win another one with Alex if you can get him that downtown box. I think he wants to test that.
Yeah, we're excited to check it out. It'll be great.
We'll call it the Alex if we do it. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All
right, we got another question in. Jeffrey, you want to hit that one?
Yeah, next question comes from a guy named Jeffrey Powers in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's just a basic question that you're talking about long runs, and I'm wondering why there isn't like an SFP in here or possible fiber options. Is that something down the road, or is there a limitation somewhere?
No, really, that's just the connector. We haven't had a huge amount of demand for fiber, and especially because you can add a little fiber adapter that's pretty low cost and then run it as long as you like. That is kind of the solution at the moment. Building an SFP into the products is something we've been asked for a little bit by actually government. Apparently, you can actually, if you really want to get nefarious, you can, pull the data off a Cat5 or Cat6 cable, which you can't with fiber because it's overclassed. So we've had a bit of requests from that. Possibly you'll see a Chasey product in the future. On the audio side,
well, as you said, like,
yeah,
if there is a need, that definitely swapping connector, it's an easy part.
Yeah. So we're probably still collecting market data on that. But for now, yeah, you can just use a RJ45 to fiber converter and do it that way.
Does that increase the latency at all? Does that add anything more?
Oh, well, I doubt it. So obviously Dante, and everyone knows Dante happily works up to 10 milliseconds of latency. I would be very surprised if there's a converter that's slower than this.
So when you add like in Jeff Keithley's scenario where he has these M4250s with fiber runs out to these boxes that are weatherproof, I mean, we were out like 1,000 feet, I think, on this. Jeff, how long was it?
On tennis, we were 1,000 feet. I'm doing this racing stuff. I'm sometimes 8,000 to 10,000 feet. So we're just tagging on fibers after fibers after fibers after fibers, and we're running Dante across that. But I've never seen a switch that, at least not that the switch was adding latency. Now, if you have a lot of hops, so a lot of connections between them, I've seen that you have to add a little bit more into it just to keep stability. But even on those really long runs, like 6,000, 8,000 feet, those are what I consider long runs now. We haven't seen latency off of that.
So I have a question. When you guys were at the booth, what were some of the most popular questions? I know our viewers are new to this, and we're getting some questions still piling in here, but I'm curious as to what you guys think our viewers should know about. What are some of the top ones that we might be missing?
Yeah, I think Ed's actually asked a few questions we get a lot. So thanks, Ed. I'm trying to think what most people ask us at the show.
The key differences, I mean, we have kind of started with that. Key differences between NDI and Dante AV. I think that's people are interested, and obviously that's a relatively new format, and people are exploring it. So we can probably touch on that as well. There's a lot more tools built into Dante AVA for Pro AV market. Things like encryption, full edit support, so you can customize your edit tables. There's a multi-channel audio pass-through on the chips natively, so we can pass through 7.1 audio from HDMI over Dante AV networks, and those are the kind of things that stand out when you compare formats, especially between NDI or SRT versus Dante AVA.
Yeah, we get a lot of product requests too. People see our audio boxes and say, "Oh, can you build something like this?" And we're collecting all of that information. And the hardest part is building out the original kind of tech stack, I guess. And then after that, changing connectors and to do different ins and outs is probably the easiest part. Still takes time, but yeah. So yeah, any of those product requests, feel free to send them to us at hello@TurtleAV as well. And for any of the listeners, we're always, collecting customer feedback, and we want to build, the tools that people need. So,
I think that audio might have dropped out on that microphone there, Eamon. In the meantime, Jeff, is there anything that you could think of in your arsenal that you've been using that Dante-wise that everybody should have in their toolkit? Is there little problem solvers or anything?
Just the basic networking stuff is what the networking stack. If you have a good network stack, that's where you have to start with, without a doubt. If you cheap out on that side, your Dante experience is going to be not so good. Especially if you go pick up the glorious switch from Walmart or even now Best Buy, that has the TurtleAV power setting turned on that you can't turn it off. Yeah, those switches will just bite you in the rear for many, many, many times before you finally figure out that you shouldn't have done that. I see that as the biggest mistake that people get started on. They believe what is somewhat overtold. Oh, it'll just work on any network. Well, any proper network would be the way I would say it.
So for those folks, I mean, that might have like a dumb switch, would you just say separate network, separate copper, just don't mix and match and just...
Yeah, that's the safest way to do it. I mean, there's huge bands out there running on those little $50 Netgear blue switches.
I've seen it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
I'm looking at it, I'm like, really? It's like, okay, if you want to go there, but there's a lot of them doing that, and that's just because they're dumb and they're dumb and they don't do anything in the middle, and they're just basically connecting a console to a stage box or a console to maybe 2 stage boxes, and that's it. That's all they're doing. They're not trying to integrate. Like, I mean, we have, when we're doing a racing event, we may have somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 or 50 Dante devices on the network that is all VLAN and separated and everything like that, and they're all over the place. So we've got a lot more to deal with, I guess you would say.
So are you using VLANs in your network in that truck? And the tennis event that we did in particular, is that VLAN out, or is that NDI and Dante on the same network?
VLANs everywhere. And I subscribe to the thought of keeping Dante separate, even though it can run, I've been told, on other shared VLANs. Call it like there's a profile in the M4250s and 4350 series that say NDI / Dante, and I'm just like, so it's NDI. Okay, Dante's over here. So I keep them separated. I just believe in that.
And then you've had tremendous. I've been in your trucks. I've seen the Netgear line of switches. Is that your go-to, your recommended?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're using those profiles, or are you customizing?
All profiles. Yeah, we're using all profiles on them.
So the NDI, the one that's just standard NDI,
it's
Dante
now I think
one?
NDI 6 is the one that or 5 or 6, whatever the latest one is.
That has both on
says,
one profile.
Yeah, but but that profile is strictly NDI traffic at that point, and then the Dante traffic's just the Dante only profile for the Dante ports.
And we have 10 cameras at that tennis event. Those have been. It's no problem. Replay, all that stuff, no glitch.
Yeah,
I didn't see any dropouts. Everything, no hits. Dante's smooth, and still 10 milliseconds
more
even
problems
on those.
With power than anything. Remember, there was a whole lot of problems with power at that venue. So there was more problems with keeping the things on.
Oh, that's right. We had 3 generators that went out. Yeah, Alex, I think we beat your story. I was saving that one. We'll tell it another time, but maybe we got to get Jarrett on. We had three generators bad on an event. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, to the point where the LED boards kept going down. How's your audio doing, Eamon? You want to say a little hello?
Yeah, hi. I think we're back. Yeah, sorry about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody.
Unit, so that's not our fault. No.
We'll have to get somebody with some Dante enabled. Actually, are there any Dante enabled microphones? There's no. Nothing. That's just.
They are. There's a lot of products in the ProAV conferencing space.
Oh, that's right. Like Sennheiser has the Team Connect, and those are. And then Shure has something as well. That's Microflex.
Sure has,
yeah, that's right. The Microflex. But you got to go into another box, right? It's like wireless into another box, and then the box has Dante.
It is. The receivers for Microflex, are I think 8 channels per receiver, and then you have a controller for them, and they send them out. But it's wireless to that. I don't know about wired to a handheld or something, but.
So what's been the biggest customer so far? Who's like gone bananas for your stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. We sort of haven't really been shipping for very long. We announced in February. I think we started shipping our first products in April. April. So we've only been shipping for a couple of months. We've got a few nice deals. There was a military deal in the USA for some chasies. There's a big university project we're working on, so fingers crossed for that, and we can make some noise about that if we win that, which is quite large. And then Mineola, we start shipping that hopefully next month or the month after, for the first time, and that has been really, really popular. We've already got lots of back orders for that. So yeah, given our live production background, if you look at our LinkedIn profiles and things like that, you'll know that we come from the world of video production. So straight away we built Mineola for that, put XLRs on it, and then in the commercial world at ISE and Infocom, well, we launched it at Infocom, but at ISE the first thing everyone asked was, "That's great, can we have it with Euroblock connectors?" So we built one with the Euroblock connectors and launched that at Infocom. So yeah, the audio bridge has been really popular.
What do you anticipate that percentage being, the live event type versus install? It's a 50-50, do you think? Or where do you see the future in a year or two once everything starts rolling?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. On the audio side, I think, probably 50-50, especially in the early days. On the video side, it's more commercial because of the just the way that AVA only really talks to other AVA boxes for the time being. I'd say it's 50-50 on audio and almost, probably 99% commercial on the video side, versus production.
Sweet. We got another question in from Ed Willock. He's just jamming. He's a Dante certified instructor, I think level 3. So
yeah, I know the name, Ed. I'm pretty sure we're connected on LinkedIn, aren't we, Ed? So nice to see you.
He's been on the panel in the past in office hours. A great guy. Let's go ahead and read that one, Jeffrey.
Yeah, Ed asks, I'm looking for more like a Dante bridge than can convert 48K to 96K.
Before this guy answers, I just want to know if Ed's reading our thoughts. We were literally WhatsApping each other at almost midnight last night talking about exactly this. So I'll just let you get on with it. Yeah.
So we don't talk about future products, as I mentioned.
but it's heavily requested. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking into that at the moment.
Totally understand the request here.
Yeah.
So,
I think Ed's tapped your WhatsApp and he's got the scoop.
Ed's on the money. He's asking really, really cool questions here. So thanks, Ed.
He's got another one in, Jeffrey.
Yep, he does. Asking, do you make your control commands public so that something like Companion or QLab, OSC network queues could be used to control your hardware?
Yeah, for sure. Right? And our API is public. It's on our website under the resources tab on the product page. So you can just download the PDF and use that within your product.
Yeah, and I apologize. It's been on my list of things to do is to reach out to Bitfocus and start talking to them about a Companion, plugin. So.
And for the record, we're currently working on the QSC and Crestron plugins. So we will have plugins available where you just drop them in and you don't need to program anything.
I've been meaning to reach out to Joe DeMax too. So Joe, if you're watching, drop me an email. I'd love to have a chat.
Yeah, Jeff Keithley knows quite a bit about central control. What are your thoughts there, Jeff?
Everything that we can touch with it and everything we can control with it, absolutely. And matter of fact, I was just chatting with Joe earlier today, so I'll make sure I bring it up too, Eamon, just to make sure that he has you guys on the radar.
Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to Joe. I love his software, and I think that there's a really nice connection to our Mineola bridges, right, to turn off, the phantom power and things like that. I think it'd be,
for sure.
Yeah, keep you in the same interface, right, Jeff, and then be able to control it all that way. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Small world. It's funny how you guys are looking to reach out to them, and we're like, hey, we know them. We use central control all the time. Yeah, the new version's exciting as well as. Did you guys get a chance to look at the new stuff from the Elgato with the Stream Deck and the new Companion module 4.0?
Yeah, they're doing some cool things, Elgato. So yeah, and that's how we see it, right? So there's sort of a few different ways, you can control it with buttons. There's another company, Densitron, who make really nice things, and we're sort of partnering with them a little bit. We wanted to make a Companion kind of plug-in for Stream Decks, and then Joe software for then have that talking to whatever button controller you want, or even in software as well. So yeah.
On the control side, we should probably touch on the Chasey Control Pro and the new features that we rolled. So so with Chasey Control Pro, which is the pro version of our hardware controller, you can actually program it to control third-party devices such as TVs over CEC or serial, blinds, lights, anything you want, and then front end can be your Stream Deck or a companion via web browser. So that way we can expand control across other devices, not only AV devices.
Yeah, so to dive a bit deeper into that, it's got ASCII and hex commands. So you can put a command line in and you literally can control anything, electronic blinds. Honestly, if you can find a network coffee machine, you could probably turn the coffee machine on and off with the and I've actually been looking for one. So if anyone's got any ideas, please send them to me. I want to get one and try it out. But then on top of that, you can also schedule it. So you can do things like send IR or CEC commands to displays using our Chasey products, turn the panels off at nighttime, turn them back on in the morning, turn all the lights off, save electricity, which, ultimately saves the planet, but saves money as well. And then, automate things like at 4 p.m., the audio in the lobby area changes to whatever you want it to be. You can change whatever's contents on the screens at a certain time during the week for, it's happy hour tonight, guys. See you at the cafeteria for, free drinks or whatever it is for a corporation. So it gives like almost unlimited control of your entire Dante network. And that's not just our products as well. It's Dante AVOs from Audinate, it's Yamaha desks, it's any Dante. So
we can also save the Dante configurations into presets. So you can take a snapshot of your entire Dante matrix and save it to preset, and then recall that with a single command.
And then schedule it. Yeah. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
And if one goes down, is there a backup? So if you have two of those on the same network, can you do a primary and a secondary?
So we actually don't interfere with the Dante flows. We only control them. So you can have multiple boxes, and they're accessible on their addresses. But even if the box goes down, Dante flows they're still available on the network. So yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah. So ultimately, for redundancy, you just put two on the network, right? Yeah. So.
Well, I think we have one more question that's in voting. Let me see if that's a Paul question. Is there any other questions that the panel might have?
Actually, I do have one more question, and that is, we're talking wired environments, but when you're talking like going into a bar or something like that, they're usually using TVs that are, $200 from wherever, Target, Walmart, whatever. And so nowadays they don't have Ethernet jacks on them. Is there any type of wireless option that you guys are thinking about for situations like that?
Yeah, we actually have a product in our series, and thanks for the question, Jeffrey. It gives me a chance to talk about a product that's not Dante, but is on our books, and it's called Darwin. And so we have a little range of low-cost endpoints. They're only $299 retail price, but they use H.265. So they're like basically designed to be video distribution systems. They're 1080p 444. You have a control box that has a matrix router built in, so a drag and drop router with video preview windows inside the web GUI. It's all controllable via the API. We'll work on a QSys and a Crestron plugin, and then companion and things like that as well. We've also got an app coming for this. We launched an app for the Chasey series, which is a free app that talks to the control box. In the future, we'll release a free app that talks to this control box. So you can have these behind the screens in a sports bar, have an iPad behind the bar with a really easy to use interface to be able to change the content on the screens. That has video preview windows to make it nice and user friendly. So that, the person, pulling the beers or working in a retail environment can't touch the AV system. They can't mess with any of the settings, but they can change the content. So, yeah.
So that's is that codec with the 444 Darwin, is that something that visually normal Joe Blows can see the difference? Is this that high quality versus, traditional, whatever has been in a bar routed in a venue?
Yeah. For video content, absolutely. You'd be hard pushed to find someone who's not a broadcast professional that can see the difference. It's H.265 at 50 megabit, is it? At 50 megabits. So, look, for video content, you can't really see the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, because these are going for video walls, right? These are, one of these could do a huge monster video wall where that quality really starts to matter.
And is it 10-bit or just 8-bit?
That's 10-bit.
Yeah.
It is 10-bit. So you got a 444 10-bit, because that's where you're really going to see the difference. I was looking at it. I was a little confused on the website because it looked like it was an 8-bit output. So, but it is 10-bit. So or 12-bit.
10. No.
10. Okay.
10.
Well, no, it just says input here. I'm just trying to make sure I understand it, because it says input here is 8, 10, 12, but that's just the input as far as.
That's correct, and then it converts it to 10.
Got it. Yeah, and so that's super important for gradients and so on and so forth, and any kind of smoke or soft changes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's great. And these are, you said they're $200 each?
$299.
$299. Okay. So $299, and that's you buy for, is it for a pair? It's $299 each, right?
$299 each. So because most people will have, say, maybe 4 or 5 encoders, but they might have 20 or 30 decoders. So
exactly.
So
it's great
per unit. And then the control box, which as you can see there, has the matrix router. That's $299 as well.
That's fantastic.
Matrix router. You don't need the control box. You can set them up without it, and you can program up a remote controller or something like that. But honestly, for $299, we'd highly suggest that on the. It makes it so much easier. Yeah. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, really can you tell us exactly what we're looking at here with this matrix? So it says encoder on the left, decoder, and then you can choose sources. Is that how this works?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So all of the encoders show up with a video preview window, and then you have the decoders, which is also showing you what's on that being received on that decoder. And then you literally drag and drop. It's a drag and drop interface. So you just drag it to, 1-to-1 or 1-to-many. So you can send encoder 1 to, 4 or 5 decoders, or it can be 1-to-1 as well.
And then in the future, we'll be able to use like bit focus buttons to just do that, just like a router. Should we just tap?
Absolutely. In fact, you've kind of prodded my memory. I need to get in touch with them. So I know some people at Bitfocus. I'll reach out to them after this call. Yeah.
And like Eamon briefly mentioned, you can also use your TV remotes and push those commands over CEC back to the encoders. You can literally just take a remote control from your cheap TV and use that as your router or switcher.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, because we did build that product exactly for sports bars. That was the use case we had in mind.
Yeah, the big thing that I always because I was in digital signage early on, and so I would have loved to have had this in there, because there's always that one TV where somebody's complaining, why can't we just turn on the sports game from there? And it's like, well, because that's a dedicated line. Now you could put it all together and then move them around as you go, and so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you. And to be honest, that feature with the matrix router and all of that, that's also built into the Chasey series. So you can do that with the Chasey 4K series as well. Yeah.
Wow. So it's just simple. Just drag the encoder on top of a decoder and it'll populate that little. So like right now I could kind of see it's small print, but I could see it says like 1, 2, and it says like ink control. So I would just drag this on top of the decoder and it would change like 2 to 2 or 1 to. How's it look when you change it?
Correct. You literally just drag a source to the destination and you drop it there, and it changes. On the Chasey Control Pro, you can also set up groups. So you can group your receivers into a single window, and you can do a source to a group as opposed to.
I was going to ask that if you had 20 TVs around a venue, are you dragging 20 times, or just when you put them all in a group and you just drag once?
Correct.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, on the Chasey series, it's got grouping. On the Darwin, you have to do 1 by 1, unfortunately. Doesn't take long.
All right, next question.
Next one comes from Kenny Hampton from Greenville, Illinois. Is there a relay module in your line that would do latching and timed open close?
Oh, great question. Wow. So there are 2 relays on the Chasey boxes, so receiver and a transmitter. You can control them manually. You can control them via API, so you can push API calls and open and close them. Or with Chasey Control Pro, you can actually use the scheduling part module, and you can schedule these events in scheduler.
Very cool. Man, what a
Please ask these guys some really tough questions. I love it when you do that. Yeah. The harder the better. Yeah.
And then what's this Pantone green? What's that number that you guys are lighting up?
Yeah, I can answer that one. That's 3262C is our Pantone.
So did I get close here?
Yeah, not bad. I used to work with an Italian, and he told me over and over again that it's not Pantone, it's Pantone. It's an Italian word, and it's Pantone. So he was very adamant that I had to say Pantone. So yeah, 3262C, and we even published it on their website. So.
Wow, yeah. That's brilliant. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming. I want to give you the last moment if you wanted to let our viewers know anything else about the products of the future or anything else that we might have missed.
Look, I think most of the products are on our website. If you've got any questions, please do reach out to us at hello@turtleav.com. We'll do our best to get back in touch with you as fast as we can. In terms of the business, yeah, we've sort of scaled up over the last couple of months. So we've now got people in Europe and in the USA as well. We'll be adding some support people over time. And then, yeah, everything you see that's on our website that's in the Pantone green boxes is a 5-year advanced replace warranty. We're not going to ask questions. We trust our users that if they're using it and they tell us that, something doesn't work, things do go wrong, we'll just send a new one out. If we get the other one back and it works, we're not going to give anyone a hard time or a headache. We'll just put it into B stock or something like that. The other thing is none of our products are made in China. They're all made in Taiwan. So we have TAA compliance. So they're fully made to the TAA spec. So for government applications, you don't have to worry about, where the products are made and what chips are being used in them. There's no spy chips. They're made in Taiwan to the TAA spec. So, yeah, that's important to note. That's it for me. If you've got hard questions, please send them to hello@. I
actually do have one more question. So there was an announcement that Iris was acquired by Audinate, and we're seeing a lot of that was with Control. What are your thoughts on this acquisition?
Yeah, look, I was a little bit surprised. It was a bit sort of left field for me. But the more I sort of thought about it, the more I think it makes a huge amount of sense for Audinate. Yeah, if we sort of just compare formats, AVH really is their format that sort of not competes, but is similar to NDI. And with a cloud-based PDZ control platform, I think it gives them the ability to then try and get more PDZ camera manufacturers to put AVH in as the contribution format. And then they've got obviously the orchestration across the web. I know the guys from Iris, and they've done a brilliant job with building a beautiful interface that is really easy to use. It makes a lot of sense for camera operators. It's it's really well laid out. And then on top of that, they got some really cool AI features in there as well. So I'm excited to see where it goes in terms of what features I'll add in the future. And I think from Audinate's point of view, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a great acquisition. I'm deeply impressed with the Iris guys though, because they only launched this. I thought it was a year ago, but Jeff sort of mentioned, pre-show that it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, right, Jeff? So
yeah, that was about what I remember seeing them in about 3 years ago.
Yeah, so to build it from sort of nothing to that in 3 years, yeah, that's incredible. So yeah, congratulations to Audinate and congratulations to Iris. So I think that's a really nice fit. On the surface, when I first saw it, I thought, probably doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but as I sort of thought about it more deeply, yeah, I can see it being a really important acquisition for Audinate and a really good partnership. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going to grow the line. I mean, a lot of people in this community, in the office hours community, are really curious right now about Dante AV. They've heard the murmurings, but now we're starting to see hardware. We're starting to see and hear about control in the future, because I know Jeff does a lot of remote operations and being able to control things like aperture and shutter speed and do those fine moves with low latency. It's going to be huge. So I'm excited about the future. I mean, thank you guys for innovating and bringing products that were much needed in the market. And thank you for your time and coming on. Thank you to our.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Like I said at the start, long-time listener, first-time caller, so very honoured and humbled to be on the show. Thanks for the invitation, and yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I wanted to thank our crew. We've got Taylor, Robert, Peter, 1F Jeff, doing double duty. He's on crew and as a panelist. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for the viewers for the questions, especially you, Ed Willock. You really hammered a bunch home for us. Super appreciate those.
Ed.
Yeah, rock and roll. Well, thanks again, and catch you guys next week. You could also tune in if we missed any questions. You could tune in to tomorrow's show during the week, 7 a.m. And we'll see you next week here on Extra Hours.